The sound system died. 65,000 people fell silent. Mick Jagger panicked, hitting the dead microphone, yelling at tech crew. Prince sat down cross-legged on stage, smiled, and started clapping. Boom, boom, clap. Within 30 seconds, the entire Rose Bowl was synchronized. No microphones, no speakers, just Prince conducting 65,000 people like an orchestra, while Mick Jagger, the man who'd said Prince was too shy to control big crowds, stood frozen, watching the impossible happen. But Prince didn't sit down to show off or humiliate Mick. He sat because he'd spent 30 years learning something Mick had never needed to learn, that the most powerful control doesn't come from chaos and running and throwing water, but from making people trust you enough to follow you into silence. July 1992. Rolling Stone magazine cover story. Mick Jagger on Modern Frontmen. Who commands crowds like you? Mick's swagger filled his voice. Most can't. Prince? Talented, but frontman? Big stadiums? 60, 70,000? You gotta work them. Run, jump, throw water, create chaos. Prince's stage presence? Too controlled, too internal. He performs, but does he seduce 70,000? Next to me, he'd be invisible. What makes a great frontman? Ego, charisma, danger? Prince has talent, but the balls to dominate massive crowds? I don't think so. August 1992. Prince reading the article. Mick said you can't control big crowds. Too shy. Prince smiled. Mick Jagger. Satisfaction. Paint it black. 30 years commanding stadiums. Respect. Should we respond? He's wrong. I don't control with chaos. I control with silence. Different power. Prince set the magazine down. Rose Bowl, August 15th. 65,000. Invite Mick. Tell him to bring his ego. Mick thought frontman power came from external chaos. Running, throwing, creating energy that demanded attention. But Prince was about to prove that internal calm creates magnetic force that invites connection. Rose Bowl Stadium, Pasadena, August 15th, 1992. 65,000 tickets sold out. Backstage VIP, Mick Jagger, leather jacket, confident, ready to prove his point. 8 p.m. Concert began. Prince's usual energy. Mick watched from side stage with professional assessment. Good crowd energy. But can he really command them? 9 p.m. Prince took the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a legend. Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones, frontman god. Mick walked on stage, arms raised. The crowd erupted. Prince smiled. Mick, last month you told Rolling Stone I'm too shy for big crowds, that I'd be invisible next to you. Mick grinned. I said it, mate. You're good, but I'm Mick Jagger. The crowd laughed. Let's test that. Perform together. See who controls this crowd. Mick agreed because he'd never failed to command a crowd in 30 years, but he'd never been tested without the tools that made his chaos effective. The song started. High-energy rock. Similar style to Stone's material. Familiar territory for Mick. Mick and Prince performed together. Two completely different styles of frontman energy sharing one stage. Mick ran across the stage, signature moves, arms windmilling, legs kicking, pure kinetic energy demanding attention through movement. Prince danced precisely. Guitar work sophisticated, controlled power that contrasted with Mick's explosive chaos. The crowd was electric. Watching two legends from different eras, different philosophies, sharing the same moment. 3 minutes into the song, Mick grabbed a water bottle, his signature move, threw it into the audience, water spraying across the first 20 rows. 65,000 people screamed approval. Mick turned to Prince, smirking. That's how you work a crowd, mate. Prince smiled calmly, said nothing. Then it happened. Boom! The sound system glitched. Technical malfunction. Possibly water damage from Mick's stunt. Possibly cosmic timing. Microphones went dead. No sound coming through. Main speakers crackled with feedback, then cut out completely. Stage monitors failed. Silence where music had been. 65,000 people fell into confused murmur. The music stopped. Everything stopped. Mick's face changed instantly. Panic. He tapped his microphone. "Hello? Hello?" Hit the mic stand. "Fix it! What the—" Started running around stage, yelling at tech crew in the wings, gesturing frantically. Lost without his tools, Prince stood still, watching Mick's panic, grinning. The Chaos Master had just lost his chaos, and the controlled performer was about to demonstrate that true control doesn't need amplification. Prince walked to the front of the stage, the very edge, closest to the crowd. 65,000 confused faces looking up at him. Stage lights caught the purple fabric of his shirt, making him glow against the darkness of the dead sound system. He sat down, cross-legged, right there on the stage floor, his movements deliberate, unhurried, as if he had all the time in the world while chaos surrounded him. The crowd's confusion deepened. Whispers spread like waves through the stadium. "What's he doing? Is this part of the show? Is he giving up?" Heads turning to neighbors, seeking explanation that nobody had. Mick stopped running, stared at Prince. "What are you—" Prince raised his hands, slowly, deliberately, then brought them together. His palms meeting created a sound that seemed impossibly loud in the silence. Clap. Pause. The echo carried through the stadium's natural acoustics. Clap. Boom. Boom. Clap. The rhythm from another band's most famous song, simple, universal. Everyone knew it. The stadium's architecture amplified the sound, turning two hands into thunder. A few people in the front rows started clapping along, tentatively, unsure if this was intentional, their hands trembling slightly with nervous energy, not knowing if they were helping or interrupting. Boom! Boom! Clap! More people joined, the rhythm spreading like ripples in water. Section by section, row by row, you could see it moving through the crowd like a physical wave, darkness giving way to participation. Within 30 seconds, 65,000 people were clapping in perfect synchronization. Their breathing had synchronized, too, every person in the Rose Bowl inhaling and exhaling together, becoming one organism with 65,000 hearts beating the same rhythm. No microphones, no speakers, no technology, just human rhythm conducted by one person sitting cross-legged at the front of a massive stage. Mick stood at the back of the stage, frozen. How is he doing this? The sound was enormous. 65,000 people creating percussion together. The Rose Bowl becoming one giant drum. Prince stood up slowly, started stomping his foot in time with the clapping. The rhythm gained depth. Physical vibration you could feel in your chest. 65,000 people stomping and clapping, the stadium shaking, all following one person who hadn't said a word through a microphone. Prince had just transformed a technical disaster into demonstration that a crowd doesn't need to be worked with chaos. They need to be invited into creation, becoming musicians instead of spectators. Prince was standing now. The rhythm continued. 65,000 people clapping and stomping in perfect synchronization. Boom, boom, clap, boom, boom, clap. He began conducting. Not performing, conducting, like he was leading an orchestra. His hands moving with precise intention, fingers spread wide, then closing into fists, creating shapes in the air that somehow communicated, volume and emotion without words. He pointed to the left side of the stadium, gestured upward with a sweeping motion. That entire section responded by clapping louder, their rhythm intensifying while maintaining the beat. The sound wave rolled across the bowl like weather, pointed to the right side, made a stomping motion with his foot, then pointed downward. They stomped harder, creating deeper bass frequencies that resonated through the concrete structure. You could feel it in your chest, in your bones, vibration traveling through steel and stone. Pointed to the center sections, raised both arms like a conductor reaching for a crescendo. They screamed. One unified voice that added texture to the rhythm without breaking it. The Rose Bowl had become a living, breathing instrument. Mick was walking toward the front of the stage now, drawn by what he was witnessing, unable to look away. This is impossible. 65,000 people, no microphones, and they're synchronized. They're not watching anymore. They're playing together. Prince brought his hands together slowly. The volume decreased. 65,000 people responding to his gesture, softening their clapping and stomping, but maintaining the rhythm. Then he thrust his hands up. The volume exploded, the Rose Bowl shaking with unified sound. Bono watched from the audience, surrounded by regular concert-goers who had no idea U2's frontman was standing next to them. His eyes were wide, his mouth slightly open in disbelief. He leaned forward, hands gripping the seat in front of him. "I've commanded big crowds with microphones, lights, speakers, every tool technology offers. He's doing it with hands, with trust. That's not frontman, that's shaman." The rhythm was alive now, breathing. 65,000 people had become one instrument playing one song. Not audience anymore, band. But Prince wasn't done proving that amplification is borrowed power. He was about to demonstrate that acoustic music connects more deeply than electric when everyone in the stadium becomes the amplifier. Have you ever thought control required loudness? Mick built a career on chaos, water throwing, running, but when technology failed, his power disappeared. Prince proved that the quietest gesture, sitting, clapping, creates the deepest connection. Share your thoughts below. Prince grabbed an acoustic guitar from a stand. No amplifier needed. Acoustic sound projects naturally. The wood was warm under his hands, familiar weight across his body. 65,000 people still maintaining the rhythm. Boom, boom, clap, he started strumming. Simple chord progression, fingers finding the strings with practiced precision, each note ringing clear. The acoustic guitar cutting through the massive percussion because it was the only melodic instrument. Natural acoustics amplified by the bowl shape of the stadium, sound waves bouncing off concrete and steel to reach every seat. Then Prince started singing. No microphone, just his voice. But 65,000 people heard him because they wanted to hear him, because they were leaning in, because they had become part of the music rather than consumers of it. Call and response began. The most ancient form of musical connection, voices merging across time and space. Prince. Purple! The crowd, without instruction. Voices rising as one. Rain! Prince. Never! Crowd. Louder now, understanding the game. Cry! Back and forth. Prince leading. 65,000 following, creating song together without any technology. Pure voice, pure rhythm, pure connection, the echo building with each exchange, sound layering on sound until the Rose Bowl felt like a cathedral. Mick had moved to stand directly beside Prince now, close enough to see the sweat on Prince's forehead, the slight smile on his face, the complete absence of panic. "This is what I've been missing," Mick whispered to himself. 30 years performing at crowds, he's performing with them. Suddenly, click. The sound system came back online, microphones live, speakers working. A faint hum of electricity returning to the equipment. Tech crew had fixed the malfunction, but nobody noticed. Not a single person in the Rose Bowl registered the click of power returning. The 65,000 people were so engaged in the a cappella experience, they didn't realize they could hear the microphones again. They were too connected to each other, too lost in the experience of making music together, to care about amplification anymore. Prince stopped playing the acoustic guitar, spoke into the live microphone, his voice amplified through the massive sound system. "Thank you. Sound is back. But we didn't need it, did we?" 65,000 people roared, not because they had their entertainment back, because they'd just discovered they were musicians. The technological failure had become the evening's greatest success, proving that connection doesn't require amplification when trust replaces tools as the source of power. Mick walked to Prince, the entire Rose Bowl watching, two legends having a moment that transcended performance. Mick's voice was different now. Not swagger, genuine awe. "Mate, I panicked. No sound, I was useless, running around like a fool." Prince's response was calm. "Because you need chaos, water, running, screaming. But when chaos fails, you used silence, sitting, clapping." Mick shook his head. "I've been doing this 30 years. I never thought about what happens when the tools fail. Control isn't always loud, Mick. Sometimes control is calm. I didn't make them riot. I made them listen. 65,000 people, no microphone, and they synchronized. They became a band. Because I didn't perform at them, I connected with them, invited them into the music. They stopped being audience, started being musicians." Mick looked out at the sea of faces, all watching this conversation. The clapping rhythm, how did you know they'd follow? Because people want to be part of something. Your style, throwing water, running, you're giving them a show. My style, sitting, inviting, I'm giving them a role. And the acoustic guitar, no amplification, but they heard every note because they wanted to hear. When you make people lean in instead of hitting them with volume, they listen deeper. Mick was quiet for a moment, processing decades of assumptions being challenged. The interview, I said you'd be invisible next to me, too shy to control big crowds. You weren't completely wrong. I don't control crowds the way you do. I don't run or throw water or create chaos. But you controlled them more completely than I ever have, without speaking, without running, just sitting and clapping. Mick's recognition wasn't surrender. It was the expansion of his understanding that frontman power exists in multiple forms, each valid for its purpose. Prince spoke into the microphone, addressing the entire stadium. Tonight, technology failed, but music didn't. Because music isn't speakers. Music is us. Mick Jagger, legend, controls crowds with energy. Running, chaos, water. That's one way. Effective, powerful, 30 years proving it works. But I control crowds with trust. When I sat down, you didn't know what I'd do, but you trusted. And we made music. Together, 65,000-person band. Prince turned to Mick. You're frontman who leads crowd. I'm frontman who becomes crowd. Both valid. Mick took the microphone. His voice showed emotion he rarely displayed publicly. I've been frontman 30 years. Controlled crowds with chaos, sweat, running. Thought that was the only way. But tonight, sound system died. I panicked, became useless. But Prince? He sat down, clapped, and 65,000 people followed. That's not shy. That's confident, because only a confident person can lead with silence. Mick turned to face Prince directly. Rolling Stone interview. I said you'd be invisible next to me. But tonight, when sound died, I was invisible. You glowed. Prince's response honored both philosophies. Mick, you taught me energy matters, but tonight I showed you energy has many forms. Yours is explosive, mine is magnetic. Both attract. Let's finish the song, Mick said. Together, but your way. Silent start. What? Followed was 3 minutes of fusion. Started a cappella. Crowd clapping. Sound gradually entering. Speakers, instruments building from silence to full band. Mick and Prince singing together. Final moment. Mick grabbed a water bottle for his signature throw, but Prince caught it midair, smiled, set it down gently. Message clear, chaos controlled. Backstage, 11:00 p.m. Mick sat, processing. When sound died, I felt helpless, lost my power, because your power is external. Speakers, running, chaos. When external fails, internal matters. And I don't have internal power. You do, but you never tested it. Technology always worked. Tonight it failed. The 5 minutes. No microphone. How? Practicing silence. Rehearsals in empty rooms. Learning to project without technology. You practiced chaos. I practiced calm. Mick laughed. You're saying I'm too loud? Loud is your weapon. Silence can be weapon too. Combining them? Mastery. August 16, 1992. Mick on MTV. Sound system crashed. I panicked. Prince sat down and controlled 65,000 with clapping. That's ultimate confidence. He taught me in 5 minutes what I didn't learn in 30 years. 2016. Prince died. Mick's Instagram tribute. 1992. Rose Bowl. Prince showed me frontman isn't being loudest. It's being heard, even in silence. I've been loud 50 years. He was silent 5 minutes and controlled stadium. That's power I never understood. Miss you, silent commander. Bono later in interview. I watched from the crowd. Prince commanding stadium with hand gestures. That's not performance, that's spiritual leadership. Mick needed tools. Prince just needed trust. Prince didn't sit down to defeat Mick. He sat to demonstrate that when you invite people into silence, they discover they don't need chaos to feel alive. They need connection. And connection is the loudest thing of all. The most powerful leaders don't need the loudest voices. They need the deepest trust. Prince proved that night that internal power survives when external tools fail, that silence commands more effectively than chaos when people are invited to participate rather than just observe. Share this story with someone who thinks control requires volume. But this wasn't the only time Prince proved that the quietest gestures create the most powerful connections. There was another night, another challenge, another moment when Prince demonstrated that what looks like shyness is actually confidence, so complete it doesn't need amplification to be felt across entire stadiums. That story begins with a critic who said Prince's introversion limits his impact. And Prince's response proved that the most introverted performers often connect most deeply because they make space for audiences to meet them halfway.